Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I was so excited to film this video. This is my 2021 bullet journal setup. The journal I'll be using this year is a Notebook Therapy Tsuki Nara limited edition bullet journal. The cover is brown linen with gold embossing, and it came with this really cute deer clip, which I love. 2020 was awful. I don't think there was anything I could have done to change that. So I'm excited to be starting fresh with this new bullet journal. After adding my name to the front cover, I started on the index, which is basically where you write down the page numbers of any important pages you want to be able to flip back to. 2020 was actually my first year bullet journaling, and I didn't quite know what I was doing, so I wasn't sure how important the index would be. Because of this, I didn't really maintain my index last year, which made it pretty unusable. So after bullet journaling for a year, I'm starting to realize that an index is actually pretty helpful, so that's why I set one up in the beginning of this journal. This is my 2021 goals and affirmations page. Last year, I kind of had a more prompt-based reflection on 2019 and then like a looking forward in 2020. All the stuff I was looking forward to got canceled, so that page became very depressing and I did not flip back to it. This year, I decided not to dwell on 2020. I'm just looking forward to 2021. This page had 4 sections, which I'll go over as I make them. Before I started on any of the actual affirmations, I added in the title 2021 to the middle of the spread with a dark marker. I didn't like the way this looks, so I ended up switching it later. The first of the 4 sections I'll be working on is the Word of the Year section. For my Word of the Year, I chose grace, because grace has this wonderful double meaning. It can mean gracefulness and self-assuredness and confidence, and it also means the grace of God, which we don't deserve but saves us every day. Throughout the year, I want to remind myself to be graceful in my words and deeds, and also to give grace and receive grace readily. Below my calligraphy of the word grace, I wrote out a definition. The definition that I chose was made up of several that I found on the internet. It says, grace, noun. 1. The exercise of love, kindness, mercy, and favor, disposition to benefit or serve another. 2. The divine favor towards man, the undeserved kindness or forgiveness of God. 3. Beauty, physical, intellectual, or moral. Easy elegance of manners. Next is my goals section. For my goals this year, I tried to mix goals relating to health and wellness with goals relating to scholastic and athletic achievement. This is a really big year for me. I'm going to be applying to college, turning 17. I'm going to be getting my driver's license in January. I'm a little nervous, but I know I can do it. This next section was one of my favorites. I titled it Who I Want to Be. It's basically just a word cloud of adjectives I would hope my friends would describe me with. This was a lot of fun to make because I got to play with different fonts and pens. It was also just really nice to remind myself who I am and who the best version of me is. In 2020, what I really want to focus on is being a comforting friend. I want to be the sort of person that people come to when they have problems. I based a lot of these adjectives on my favorite personality test, the Enneagram. I recommend taking that test. Also, make this spread. It was really fun, but it was also really nice to remind myself of what's so great about me. The last spread I'm doing is my dreams spread. These are things that maybe they're not super important to do, but they're something I would really like to do. A lot of them are really vague and dreamy, as they would be. I didn't really think a ton about what I wanted to put in this section beforehand. I just kind of wrote down what I felt like was really important to me this next year. The result was that it's really spontaneous, but definitely very accurately reflects what I want from this year. After that, I just filled in the area that was empty underneath my goals with some fireworks to represent the new year. As I mentioned before, I didn't like the way that 2021 looked, so I covered it up with new paper numbers. One thing I was really surprised that I liked about this journal was I was surprised by how helpful it was to have the pages lay flat. My old journal didn't lay flat, and I never really thought about how it was hindering my art, but after using a journal where the pages lay flat, it's life-changing. Last year I set up my future log, but I didn't end up using it as much as I anticipated. I think it was because I didn't give each month enough room. So this year, instead of doing horizontal columns like I did last year, I did really big vertical ones so I'd have plenty of space to write out dates and events. I actually made a mistake here. It was a pretty big mistake, but it was really funny. So right now I'm writing out the days of the month, but I was using a 2020 calendar instead of a 2021 calendar. I guess because in my head it just like, this whole last year didn't count. So this is me realizing my mistake, and then I cut out a piece from the back of the journal to use it to cover up the messed up calendars. It worked really well. If you didn't know, you wouldn't even be able to tell that they had been messed up in the first place. Also, sorry that my head was in that shot. Another thing I really liked about this journal that I didn't expect was it was super great to have the pure white pages. My last journal had kind of cream colored pages, and it was fine, but I didn't realize how pretty the white looks. Then I found a 2021 calendar and wrote in the correct dates. To save time, because my screen time limits were about to kick me off of google.com, I just wrote in the first and last days of each month so I could fill it in. I did pretty much the same thing on the other page. I just put in the letters of the month behind the numbers in this nice gray marker, and then I filled in with a black fine liner. I really like how minimally this turned out. I didn't even put in a title. A lot of people put titles on their future logs, but I just really didn't feel like it because I know it's a future log. What else would it be, you know? This was actually a new spread for me. I set up a grid spacing guide. This was inspired by Amanda H. Lee, who's one of my favorite bullet journal YouTubers. I wasn't sure how helpful it would be since I didn't set one up last year and did just fine, but you'll see me refer to it not like one page later. It was so helpful. To set one of these up, I just numbered each space, then I drew like a cross across the middle of the page so I know where the exact center was. I added the half dividers, the third dividers, and the fourth dividers. After I finished dividing them up, I made a little circle and wrote inside the circle how many grid spaces it was so I can count it out really quickly. My last bullet journal wasn't an A5, it was an A5 plus, and it didn't divide very easily into segments. So this journal divided super easily. I didn't have to leave extra spaces along the margins or anything weird like what I did in my other bullet journal. If you couldn't already tell, I'm super pumped to have a cool bullet journal like all the big kids on YouTube. The next spread was unfortunately much needed. It's a password tracker spread. I frequently forget the password to my email and my student email and tons of other stuff, so I really just need to start writing them down. This spread's pretty self-explanatory. I just write the account in one column and the password for that account in the other. Look, me using my grid spacing guide. This spread, I've never seen anybody do it quite like this. So, last year I set up a year in pixels type tracker at the beginning of the year. I stopped using it because I didn't like the colors I had picked, which is a really petty reason to stop using a spread, but whatever. And then I set up mood trackers every month. I liked that, but I found myself only using one type of mood tracker, and the main reason to set one up every month is so you can use different colors and new types of mood trackers each month, and keep it interesting. And since I was just using the same one, it kind of defeated the purpose. So what I decided to do was just to set up all my mood trackers for the next 6 months at the beginning of this bullet journal. My favorite type of mood tracker is the graph kind, where you rate your mood, your productivity, and your sleep, and then graph it, and it turns into like this nice wavy line over time. This is why I'm taking AP Statistics. I just love to see graphs. They're so satisfying looking. They also reflect data a lot better, I find, than colors, because colors, it's just like a ton of colors, cool. But I like that I can see correlation. Like, for example, sometimes on days when I get less sleep, I'm actually happier, which surprises me. And sometimes days that I'm more productive, I'm not as happy, which is always interesting to see. In terms of using this spread, I'm probably going to rate my happiness on a scale of 1 to 4, rate my productivity on a scale of 1 to 4, and then each grid space is going to represent 1 hour of sleep that I got. So technically I can only graph that I got a maximum of 8 hours of sleep, but that's okay because that's my goal for how much I want to sleep anyway. In terms of colors, I just picked ones that I knew I would like and not forget which ones were which. Since I only set up for about 6 months, I'm thinking that when I do my half-year setup, I'm going to remake this spread. This next spread is more practical. On one side, I'm going to plan my morning and night routines. I had a really good morning routine earlier this year, but quarantine ruined it, and I can't really get a new one going. So hopefully this will help me to form new habits and be more productive in the morning. On the other side is like a cleaning spread, which I'm titling When Did I Last? This will probably help me remember when I last did things like clean out my car, which I will have next year because I will be legally allowed to drive, and when I did stuff like change my toothbrush or vacuum my room. Basically, each day that it happens, I'm going to put the little dot in the corresponding color on that day in the calendar. And we have come to the final spread in my 2021 setup. For this page, I wanted to focus a bit less on productivity and a bit more about enjoying my life, basically. I find that in the last couple years, since books were assigned to me for school, I've stopped reading for pleasure, which is really sad because I really enjoyed reading when I was younger. So I'm hoping that this spread, which is a book tracker, every time I read a book, I'll draw it on the shelf. I'm hoping that this spread will help me to get back into the right mindset for recreational reading. It just occurred to me that with the amount of books I've read in the past couple years, this bookshelf might be a bit too big. This final spread is also inspired by Amanda H. Lee. It's basically a things to check out spread. So this is where I can write down books that were recommended to me, movies I want to watch, songs that I want to learn on guitar. I always think, oh, I should do that. And then a week later when I have free time, I'm like, what was that thing I wanted to do? I forgot about it. So hopefully this will help and fix that problem. So here is the final flip through of my 2021 bullet journal setup. I'm really excited about how this turned out. I'm really excited to use this journal. I'm so excited for all of the different types of art I can make in it since its pages are so much more durable than my last one. And I'm really excited to share it with all of you. Thank you for coming along with me and planning for 2021. If you really liked this setup, please consider subscribing to my channel. I upload new videos about bullet journaling and art every week. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye!